Another concept we need to be aware of is that of tokens. When we deal with prompts, like in this case, we are passing a text, but under the hood, all AI is bad at dealing with text. All AI is good at dealing with numbers. So what it does is it takes all this and it converts it into numbers, which we refer to as tokens. And each model has a limit as to how many tokens it can deal with. And that counts both what I'm sending it, like in this case here, this text, and what it returns, in other words, this text, right? So that gives us a certain length, and we can specify what the maximum length is. Like in this case, where we're using GPT 3.5 Turbo, I can say I want a maximum response length of 4,095 tokens. That's what this model can do. Now that's not entirely accurate because I'm passing in some text and that uses up some tokens. So if I just try to run this, it'll probably throw an error because it's too long, because the response can only be so long and it counts the input as well. Now if I was to switch to a different model like GPT-4, for instance, you'll note that the maximum length is higher because it can accept more tokens, and therefore it's also more expensive. So that is something you have to be aware of. So the question always is, well, what's a token exactly? Well, that's a little hard to say, but the best conceptual idea that I've come up with that helps me a lot, it's not totally technically accurate, but if you think of a token as a syllable, you get kind of the right idea. Now, there's a lot of people going to say, oh, that's nonsense, that's not technically right. Yes, it's not technically right, but it kind of gives you an idea of what we are talking about there. Now, if you really need to know how many tokens you're dealing with, there's tokenizers. And again, we've had some prior recordings that show how that works. We also do training classes on that. And I just wrote an article in Code Magazine that's coming out, I think tomorrow or the day after, which you can get for free on the website, codemag.com/magazine, where I show how to tokenize. There's just packages you can download. You can give it a piece of text, say tokenize it, and you get back a list of numbers. And then you can take that list of numbers, turn it back into text. And so this way you know exactly how many tokens you have. But so this is just something you need to be aware of. You'll be fighting this all the time. This token limit is the biggest pain that we are currently dealing with. It's a question online that's, does ChatGPT have a free API that can be used programmatically for learning or simple demos? No, they do not. But if you just do demos, it is super cheap. Like you will spend 28 cents or something. Or if you're doing a lot, like I do a lot of demos, I usually spend like $2 a month on that. But it's not free. And there's another question. You believe that all these AI features Microsoft and others are adding to their apps are sustainable and scalable? You mentioned paradigm shift. That's also a huge resource and infrastructure cost. And yes, that's absolutely correct. I think in the future we will see models that are more specific to a certain task, not as generally useful. I think we'll see models that are optimized for lower resource consumption. But it is clear that the way we are headed is we'll need more and more computing power to run this, and infrastructure cost and sustainability and power need. But hey, if we shut down all the Bitcoin miners, right, we have a lot of extra power for this. No, just kidding. But yeah, it's, that's the biggest problem right now. And what Microsoft's putting into this is incredible. Like we're literally talking about one of those enormous data centers. Like I said, the one in Dublin is a mile long, half a mile wide. Microsoft's bringing one of those online every 3 days, so 2 to 3 a week over the next year and a half. That's the scale we're talking about to make this possible.